Welcome to CrimePod Castle's Unsolved Mystery Series, episode 87.
Oh, wow. 87 already.
Time flies, huh?
Ugh.
So today, we're going to take a deep dive into a case that has haunted Gurgaon, India for years.
Oh, yeah, this one. This is a tough one.
The unsolved murder of Meenal Arora.
Meenal Arora. Yeah. It's one of those cases that just stays with you, you know?
Huh. Yeah, it's definitely a heavy one. And it's a case that really makes you think about the fragility of life and the desperate search for answers.
Right. It's like 1 minute everything is normal and then...
Yeah, and in the next minute, everything changes.
Exactly. And it's those left behind, the family and friends, who are left trying to pick up the pieces and make sense of it all.
Right. And in this case, those pieces are particularly hard to put together.
Yeah. We'll be looking at the facts, the evidence, and the theories, trying to piece together what happened to Meenal.
And maybe by examining this case closely, we might uncover some insights into the complexities of crime and the human condition.
The dark side of human nature.
Exactly. So let's start by getting to know Meenal a little bit. She was a 32-year-old entrepreneur running a successful boutique.
Yeah, very successful. By all accounts, she was really making a name for herself in the fashion world.
And not just a businesswoman, though. She was known for her kindness and her passion for giving back to the community.
Right. She was deeply involved in charity work, especially focused on empowering women.
Really making a difference.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that makes this case so tragic. Losing someone like her, someone so full of life and purpose, it leaves a huge void.
It's hard to grasp the impact of a loss like that. Not just on her family and friends, but on the entire community.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine the ripple effect. You have the immediate circle of loved ones dealing with unimaginable grief. Then there's the wider community grappling with fear and unease. Could this happen to anyone? It's a question that lingers in the air.
It really does.
Yeah.
It makes you question your own sense of safety. Now, taking you back to November 15, 2016, a seemingly ordinary evening that took a tragic turn.
One of those dates that will forever be etched in the memory of those who knew her.
Meenal leaves her boutique around 8 p.m., even calls her mother while driving home.
That detail always struck me. It paints such a stark contrast, doesn't it? A normal conversation about family plans, completely unaware of the horror that awaits. It makes the suddenness of what happened even more chilling.
It really does. Like a regular Tuesday night.
Exactly. Just going about her day.
And then bam.
Yeah. So later that night, Meenal's parents make the horrific discovery.
Yeah, no parent should ever have to go through that.
Of finding their child like that.
They found her body in the entryway of her apartment. She had been stabbed multiple times. Purse and phone were missing.
Brutally attacked. It's a scene that no parent should ever have to witness. And the brutality of the attack immediately raised questions.
So many questions. Was this a robbery, a personal vendetta, or something else entirely?
Right off the bat, investigators were faced with a puzzle.
So let's unpack what the investigation revealed. What did the forensic evidence tell us?
Well, the autopsy confirmed multiple stab wounds, the fatal one being to the chest. But there's something else, something crucial. Meenal had defensive wounds on her hand.
Defensive wounds, so she fought back.
Exactly. It suggests a struggle, that she didn't go down without a fight. This detail adds another layer of complexity to the case. It's not just a cold, calculated attack. There was a confrontation, a desperate attempt to defend herself. This begs the question, was the attacker someone she knew? Someone she perhaps let into her apartment willingly?
That's a good question. You'd think that with such a violent struggle, there'd be some DNA evidence at the scene, right?
You would, wouldn't you? But that's where it gets even more puzzling. Despite the brutality of the attack, no foreign DNA was found at the scene.
Hold on. No foreign DNA. That seems almost impossible with a struggle like that. What does that tell us?
It raises more questions than answers, for sure. If it wasn't a random attack and there's no trace of anyone else, it suggests a level of premeditation, a deliberate attempt to avoid leaving evidence behind.
Okay, so we have a violent attack, a missing person phone, which initially points to robbery. But then there's this lack of foreign DNA and no signs of forced entry.
It's like the pieces don't quite fit.
Right, it's a contradiction. And this contradiction is the heart of this case. If it was a robbery, why the extreme violence and the clean scene? And if it was personal, how did the attacker get in without leaving a trace?
It's a real head-scratcher.
And speaking of getting in there, was CCTV footage, right? What did that show?
The footage from Meenal's building shows her entering alone, as you'd expect. But another camera, one near a service entrance, captured something interesting. A man in a hoodie leaving the complex around the time of the murder.
A man in a hoodie. Who is this guy, and why was he there?
That, my friend, is the million-dollar question. His identity remains a mystery. We don't know if he was a witness and accomplice or entirely unrelated to the case, but his presence in the footage adds another layer, another piece of the puzzle we can't quite place.
It's like every piece of evidence we uncover adds more questions instead of answers. But let's shift gears a bit. What about Meenal's personal life? Did the police find any potential motives there? Any enemies, disgruntled acquaintances, or anything like that?
Interestingly enough, Meenal was described as a kind and well-liked person. No one seemed to have a bad word to say about her.
Really? A genuinely good person?
However, during their investigation, the police uncovered a recent disagreement she had with a former business partner.
A business disagreement. Now that's something worth exploring. Could a business dispute turn deadly?
It's certainly a possibility. The business world can be a ruthless place, especially in a competitive environment like Gurgaon. We've seen countless stories of partnerships dissolving into bitter feuds leading to sabotage, financial ruin, and sometimes even violence. Could this be one of those cases?
It makes you wonder, we know Meenal was a successful businesswoman, someone who knew how to navigate a competitive landscape. What if this disagreement wasn't as minor as it seemed? What if it escalated into something far more sinister?
That's precisely what we'll be looking into next. We'll delve into the potential motives, exploring the various theories surrounding Meenal's murder, and see if we can make sense of this tangled web of evidence. We've laid out quite a puzzle so far, haven't we? A successful businesswoman found murdered in her own home. No forced entry, no foreign DNA, and a mysterious man in a hoodie caught on camera.
It's a case that keeps you guessing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the theories surrounding Meenal Arora's murder. What are the main scenarios that investigators have explored over the years?
Well, the first one that comes to mind, and the one that investigators initially focused on, is robbery gone wrong. The missing person phone seemed to support this.
Yeah, it's a natural starting point, right? You find a victim with valuables missing, it's easy to jump to that conclusion. But something doesn't sit right with me about it.
You and the investigators both. The level of violence seems excessive for a simple robbery. Why inflict so many stab wounds if the goal is just to grab a purse and phone? It doesn't quite add up.
It feels personal, doesn't it? Almost like a message was being sent. Which brings us to the second theory. We touched upon a crime of passion.
Exactly. The brutality of the attack, the lack of forced entry, those elements point towards a more personal connection between Meenal and her attacker.
So we're talking about someone who knew Meenal, someone who perhaps had a reason to feel betrayed, jealous, or enraged.
Precisely. Was there someone harboring a secret grudge, a dangerous obsession? This theory leads us down a rabbit hole of examining Meenal's relationships, looking for signs of hidden conflicts or simmering resentments.
It's a chilling thought, but one that investigators couldn't ignore. And then there's that business disagreement with her former partner. That can't be overlooked.
Absolutely. That brings us to our third theory, that Meenal's murder was connected to her professional life. We know that business dealings can get messy, especially when money and ambition are involved.
Let's face it, the corporate world can be cutthroat. Partnerships, sour competition gets fierce, and sometimes things escalate beyond what anyone could predict. Could this have been a case of a deal gone wrong, a power struggle, or even a planned hit to eliminate a rival?
It's within the realm of possibility, especially considering that Meenal was a successful businesswoman making waves in her industry. Was someone envious of her success? Did she cross someone powerful who wanted her out of the picture? These are the questions investigators had to grapple with.
It's like something out of a movie, isn't it? A glamorous world of fashion and business, with a dark underbelly of secrets and betrayals. But let's not forget that fourth theory, the one that's perhaps the most unsettling of all, a random act of violence.
Yes, the random encounter. The possibility that Meenal was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, a victim of circumstance targeted by a stranger with no clear motive. That mysterious figure in the CCTV footage, the man in the hoodie, he lends some weight to this theory, doesn't he? He does. And it's a terrifying thought, isn't it? That someone like Meenal going about her day could be brutally murdered by a complete stranger for no apparent reason. It really makes you question the safety and predictability of the world we live in.
It certainly does. And while this theory is hard to swallow, it's one that investigators couldn't dismiss. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes bad things happen to good people, and there's no easy explanation, no rhyme or reason to it.
It's a lot to process, isn't it? 4 distinct theories, each with its own set of supporting and conflicting evidence. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing.
And sadly, that's often the nature of unsolved cases. We're left with more questions than answers, grappling with uncertainty and searching for a truth that may forever elude us.
So where does that leave us? We've explored the theories, examined the evidence, but the central question remains who killed Meenal Arora?
That's the question that has haunted investigators, her family, and the community for years. And as we move forward, we'll delve deeper into the lingering questions, the unanswered clues, and the impact this case has had on everyone involved. We've spent this episode trying to unravel the mystery surrounding Meenal Arora's murder. We've looked at the evidence, considered the motives, and explored the various theories, yet we still don't know who took her life and why.
It's a question that just hangs over this whole case, a reminder that justice hasn't been served. Despite the best efforts of investigators and Meenal's family, we still don't know the truth.
Yeah, and as we wrap up our deep dive, it's clear that there are more questions than answers. So what are the biggest unanswered questions that still haunt this case?
Well, the most obvious one, and the one that I keep coming back to, is the identity of that man in the hoodie caught on CCTV footage. Like, who was he? Was he just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or did he have something to do with Meenal's death?
Yeah, it's so frustrating. That one grainy image could hold the key to solving the whole case. If only we knew who he was.
Right. Maybe he saw something important, a little detail that could crack the case wide open. Or maybe he was more directly involved, an accomplice, or even the one who attacked her. Until we know his identity, it's just guesswork.
And then there's the motive. We've looked at a few possibilities. Robbery, a crime of passion, a business dispute. But none of them really seem to fit perfectly with the evidence. Is there something we're missing? Some crucial piece of information that could explain why Meenal was targeted?
It's certainly a possibility. Maybe there was a conflict that no one knew about, a secret relationship, or a threat that was never reported. Perhaps there's a part of Meenal's story that we haven't uncovered, something that could change our whole understanding of the case.
It makes you think about how little we can really know about other people's lives, about the secrets they keep and the complicated relationships they have.
It really does, especially in a case like this where those hidden details could be the key to solving the mystery.
So where does the case stand today? Is there any hope for Meenal's family to finally get some closure?
Officially, the case is still unsolved, but Meenal's family hasn't given up hope. They're pushing for a new investigation, for new leads to be followed up on. They're determined to keep her memory alive in the hope that someone, somewhere, might come forward with new information.
It's inspiring to see their dedication. It shows the power of love and the importance of seeking the truth, even when it seems impossible to find.
It does.
And what about the community in Gurgaon? How has this case affected them?
Omni's murder had a profound impact on Gurgaon. It shattered the sense of safety that many residents had, and it made people realize that even in a relatively safe and prosperous city like Gurgaon, tragedy can strike anyone.
It's a reminder that we're all vulnerable in different ways.
Yeah,
And it's a reminder that we need to look out for each other.
absolutely. And Meenal's case led to many conversations about safety, about being more vigilant, about taking precautions.
Important conversations to have. So as we conclude this deep dive, I want to thank you all for joining us on this exploration of the unsolved murder of Meenal Arora. It's a truly heartbreaking case, and it serves as a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of seeking justice for those who have been wronged.
And it reminds us that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, we must never give up hope.
If you have any information about this case, no matter how small or insignificant you think it might be, please come forward and share it with the authorities. Even the smallest detail could be the missing piece of the puzzle that helps bring Meenal's killer to justice. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on CrimePod Castle. Remember to follow and subscribe to our podcast for more deep dives into unsolved mysteries. Until next time, stay safe and keep those minds curious.